Two women stood in front of King Solomon holding the exact same claim. Both said the living baby was theirs. Both said the other woman's baby had died in the night, and the bodies had secretly been switched while everyone slept. There were no witnesses, no records, no way to prove either story. So Solomon called for a sword. He ordered the child cut in two, one half given to each woman. One woman agreed instantly. The other begged him to stop, offering to give up her claim entirely rather than watch the child be harmed. Solomon never intended to cut anything. He already knew which woman was the real mother before either of them said a single convincing word. That's not cleverness. There was no evidence to be clever with. That's something else. Scripture has a name for it: discernment. It's a real gift listed right alongside prophecy and healing. To one is given the message of wisdom, to another the message of knowledge, to another faith, and to another the distinguishing between spirits. That last one is discernment, specifically, the ability to sense what's actually true underneath what's being presented. If you've ever wondered whether you carry this gift, here are 7 honest signs that you do. The first sign is a persistent unease you can't fully explain. You meet someone or walk into a situation and something in you quietly tightens, even though nothing looks wrong on the surface. You've learned to stop dismissing that feeling because it's proven right more times than it's been wrong. The second sign is noticing the gap between what someone says and what's actually true, even when the gap is small. Most people hear the words, you hear the words and something underneath them at the same time, and the two don't always match. The third sign is an internal check before decisions that everyone around you seems excited about. Peace quietly withdraws right when you're supposed to feel confident, and you've learned that withdrawal is data, not doubt, to be ignored. The fourth sign is an immunity to impressive performance. Other people get moved by confidence, charisma, a good stage presence. You're watching for something else entirely, whether what's underneath the performance is actually real. A polished answer doesn't automatically satisfy you the way it satisfies everyone else in the room, and you've been called overly skeptical by people who mistake your caution for cynicism when it's actually just refusing to confuse volume with truth. First, John puts it plainly: do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God. The fifth sign is that people come to you for clarity, not because you're the smartest person in the room, but because you consistently see situations more clearly than the people standing inside them. The sixth sign is knowing what to pray for before you've been told the full story. Something in you already senses the actual need underneath the version of events you're hearing. The seventh sign, and this one matters most, is that this gift comes with weight instead of pride. You don't feel superior for seeing what others miss. Most of the time, it feels heavier than that, closer to grief, because seeing clearly usually means seeing a problem before anyone asked you to. Here's where this gets uncomfortable though, because a real gift doesn't automatically mean a mature one. Discernment without love curdles into suspicion fast. You can start seeing everyone as a potential threat, treating every gap between words and truth as proof of malice, when sometimes it's just human inconsistency, not deception. Paul wrote about spiritual gifts and love in the very same letter for a reason. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, but do not have love, I am nothing. Discernment that isn't anchored in love stops protecting people and starts judging them instead, and those are not the same posture at all. The writer of Hebrews describes discernment as something trained, not just given. Solid food is for the mature, who by constant use have trained themselves to distinguish good from evil. By constant use, not a switch flipped once, a muscle built through actual practice. The same way any gift grows sharper the more it's honestly exercised instead of left unused out of fear of being wrong. That practice looks specific, not abstract. It looks like testing what you sense against actual scripture instead of just trusting the feeling on its own, because feelings can be wrong and discernment isn't a substitute for the Bible. It works alongside it. It looks like naming the unease to someone wise instead of carrying it silently and calling that humility. It looks like acting gently even when your discernment turns out to be correct, because being right about a person's character is never permission to treat them without love. And it looks like staying willing to be wrong sometimes, because a discernment that's never open to correction has quietly slid into pride wearing a spiritual label. It also looks like patience with the timing of what you see. Sometimes discernment shows you a truth long before you're supposed to act on it, and the temptation is to expose it immediately, to prove you were right the moment you're certain. Solomon didn't announce his suspicion the second he formed it. He built a way for the truth to reveal itself, which took more restraint than simply declaring what he already sensed. Real discernment usually asks you to wait a beat longer than feels comfortable. Solomon's actual prayer is worth reading in full because it's the model for anyone who suspects they carry this same gift. He didn't ask for riches or victory over his enemies. Give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong. That request pleased God specifically because Solomon asked for the ability to see clearly on behalf of other people, not to win an argument or feel superior in a room. That's the real test of whether this gift is maturing in you the way it's supposed to, not whether you're usually right. Whether the clarity you're given makes you more useful to the people around you, or more distant from them. 2 women once stood in front of a king, and only one of them was telling the truth. Solomon didn't need a single witness to know which one, because the gift he'd asked God for years earlier had already been trained into an instinct. If you've recognized yourself in these 7 signs, you likely carry something similar. The question was never whether you can see what other people miss. It's whether you'll let that sight make you gentler with people, the same way it made a king gentle enough to spare a child instead of just proving a point.